Hello, everyone. Great getting a chance to reach out to engage voters in this 2002 Ontario election. This is my second video of the election, and I wanted to engage videos this way because, unfortunately, our campaign is running into some systematized censorship. So I just wanted to give you some background for anybody who's following the Ontario election as to what exactly our experience is and the extent to which those experiences are being also replicated in other writings, and extent to which the collection of those experiences constitutes a pattern of electoral manipulation, corruption, and a potential threat to the integrity of our democratic institutions through elections. So to give you a bit of background, I'm running as a candidate in Ottawa-Centre for the leader of the Ontario People's Front. To give you some background on myself so you can provide a context on what I'm talking about. I've had other experiences in elections. Previous elections, I have not encountered what I see going on in this particular election. In previous elections, what's going on right now is manipulation at the level of the all candidates debate. I'm a candidate who has been nominated previously federally. I've been, from 1993, I was nominated federally with the Mel Hurtig National Party. In Ottawa-Valley, had a privilege of serving the National Party at Mel Hurtig. Mel Hurtig is definitely a great Canadian. I also was a candidate for Paul Halier in Ottawa-Valley, and he's another great Canadian. Both of them, unfortunately, passed away. So I have a certain experience in politics in terms of debate. I've gone in debates with another great leader of the NDP, Ed Broadbent. I've also been in debates with Maurice Bélanger, another great venerated Liberal MP. Previous to this election, my experience has been that there has been an sense of inclusion with all candidates equally, so that people can hear the voices of the candidates without sort of filtering and then a sense of manipulation by the organizers of the all candidates debate. Very equal, very open, and no sense of status that, okay, you know what, you can't debate Mr. Broadbent because he's this, you're going to be sidelined. Very inclusive. In this particular debate, again, I previously talked about the experience I had with Lucy, an ex-CBC apparatchik who, decided that she was going to censor our campaign and a few other campaigns, started to speak against the narrative, and all of a sudden she cut me off and only allowed me 30 seconds to talk before cutting me off. And while we have the so-called, nowadays they refer to as the mainstream parties, Liberal, NDP, Conservatives, and Greens, they get to talk, for an hour and a half, and then I get cut off. Well, with the other candidate, I get cut off after 30 seconds, and the other candidates are limited to 2 minutes. And again, another debate happened in Ottawa-Centre involving organized on the 17th, involving these community associations: Hampton, Iona, McKellar Park, Carlington, Champlain Park, Civic, Hospital Neighborhood, Hintonburg, Island Park, Wellington Village, Westboro, and Westboro Beach. Now, unfortunately, we had, again, the original intent of that particular all candidates debate is that I was being invited with all these candidates. We were going to have an equal setup. Everybody was going to be treated equally as debates I've experienced before. Unfortunately, this particular debate was, the moderator was another CBC apparatchik, Amanda Pfeiffer. She decided at the last minute that she was going to limit myself and a few other candidates to only right at the end, when the debate's almost finished, to about a minute or two at the most, we were going to be limited, and the progressive conservatives, the liberals, the NDP, and the Greens, they get to take up the debate again. And I says, why is that? Well, that's a decision that I make, and basically tough. That's what Ms. Pfeiffer said. To me, that's completely irresponsible. Like CBC is supposed to be a public broadcaster, and unfortunately, they're getting more and more of a reputation of being not being a public broadcaster for the people, but a forum for state manipulation and exclusion. This is a completely against the narrative of what the CBC is supposed to be. This is sort of exclusion practice they're doing, and this flippant attitude by Ms. Pfeiffer that, I don't care, that's tough. We're the organizers, we can do anything we want. I mean, that's irresponsible, because what is happening in these debates, like what happened in the May 12th debate, is that, these debates get reported by media like the Ottawa-Sun and the Ottawa Citizen, and then when they show on these online debates, who was present, they only show the so-called four main parties, and we're not even in the shot. And then these other media use it as a pretext to completely exclude other voices. So this type of manipulation taking place at these community association level is translated into further exclusion at in the level of these media organizations that go to these debates and only report the manipulated, orchestrated version that these community associations are implementing. It's completely destructive. And I also have noticed with these debates, unlike previous debates before that I've been in since 1993, previous debates I've been before, there's a sense of sincerity, passion, great, interesting people debating topics that they're passionate about, and a fun experience overall for the people who attend these debates. These debates that I'm seeing now with this sort of manipulation that took place with Lucy, the ex-CBC apparatchik, and Amanda Pfeiffer, who is still a CBC apparatchik, is these sort of starch, contrived, orchestrated, manipulated debates where it's like they just worked out what each of them were going to say beforehand, and it's completely artificial to manufacture a quasi-scripted version of what people already hear. Our premier says, what they already hear, the Liberal leader says, what they already hear, the Green Party leader says, what they already hear what Ms. Horwath is saying. This is what's going on. A scripted starch narrative, which is being projected into these debates where these community associations are executing for these political parties. And what they want to do, apparently, is make sure that all the other voices out there, whether it's us like the Ontario People's Front, New Blue, whatever these political voices, they don't want these other political voices, which are legitimate political parties recognized by Elections Ontario, disturbing the narrative of this sort of environment. And what is it? To me, what I'm disturbed about is that Elections Ontario, for example, they have regulations concerning advertising, third-party advertising. They want to make sure that things are done with integrity, that there's, at the same time, when you have all candidates debates manipulating and controlling the voices of parties that are supposed to be treated equally and are all equally legitimate, it is what that is doing. It is that it's subverting the recognition that Elections Ontario afforded these parties. It is subverting our democracy. It's subverting the integrity of these all candidates debates to be providing an opportunity for people to decide and to be informed about what's going on there, to know what the choices are, and then to have a vote based upon the fullest understanding and range of the choices out there. By limiting the choices and by limiting the voices, these Miss Pfeiffer from the CBC and Lucy ex-CBC apparatchik, what they are doing is that they are creating an environment of a scripted context, which is using basically these all candidates debates rather than being open form of democracy. They're being infomercials to replicate what people already hear the leaders saying. They're not, in this scripted way, which is subverting the ability of other voices like ourselves to be out there. And I presented this issue to Elections Ontario. They said they have no control over, what goes on the debates, all candidates debates. But what I'm doing is I would like to reach out there to get people's impression of their experiences of all candidates debates. Are they concerned about this manipulation taking place? If you're concerned about it, if you have any experience of these all candidates debates, if you're a candidate which feels like your voices was marginalized by this sort of manipulation, which seems to be primarily happening from what I see in these urbanized riding, I invite you to make your comments, below this video. The comments that I'm sharing is as a candidate in Ottawa-Centre and the leader of the Ontario People's Front. If you have any comments, please feel free to share them below, because this is, to me, a disturbing practice based upon my previous experience of debates. This is a manipulation that is taking place, and it's something that should be redressed for the future elections to ensure that the integrity of the democratic process is respected. When we have people like Ms. Pfeiffer saying, oh, they don't care, it's our debate, we can do anything we want, this type of cavalier attitude, especially with somebody from the CBC that's supposed to be public, taking this attitude of completely ignoring the fact that, what they do in these all candidates debates is going to have a direct impact on voters. Ignoring that, it replicates when these media organizations decide that they are going to ignore the other voices because they weren't present for 99% of the debate. This is a problem that's taking place with our riding. I've talked to other candidates of other parties. They're also, particularly in urban ridings, they're experiencing this as well. This is definitely a pattern with the CBC. There's a lot of talk about, defunding the CBC. My view, what the CBC needs is not defunding. What they need is to cut out that sort of state-controlled government money coming from Justin Trudeau, and to be able to get more money by appealing directly to the people, like what happens in PBS in the States. When I've dealt with PBS in the States, they are, because they have to get money from the people more so, they treat the people and in the community in a much different way than the CBC that can just lock itself up, in downtown Ottawa, completely ignore the voices out there. Why? Because they're getting money from Justin Trudeau, who they report to, okay, and they're getting additional money from corporations, and they don't have to get money from people. They can just ignore the people as long as as far as the current CBC is concerned, as long as they serve our Prime Minister and his political agenda and his political narrative, and the corporations that are paying for their advertising, they don't have to listen to anybody else. So it's not just a situation of money coming from Parliament. Is the money coming from their elite advertisers? In order to change that, what we need to do is we need to create a public broadcaster which is going to be receptive to communities. We need to restructure the administration of the CBC so that they have to report to the community and all the communities they serve, and to get money from the communities they serve in a decentralized way rather than a centralized funding system, which produces journalists like Amanda Pfeiffer, who can say she don't care, she doesn't care about how it affects democracy. It's her show; she can do anything she likes. And like Lucy, her show, she can cut off candidates, manipulate democracy, as long as the candidates are serving the narrative that she wants to promote as a apparatchik for our prime minister and the corporations. Is perfectly fine for them. So we need in my view, we need a public broadcaster, but we need a public broadcaster with journalists who serve the people. That's what we need. I mean, when I deal with, PBS, for example, even though I'm Canadian, and because they're getting money from Canadians who fund them, they will call me like snap, 2 minutes, 5 minutes. They are very responsive, even though we're Canadian and they really should be serving Americans, but they recognize that they're getting money from us. They're going to be responsive to us. When you call CBC, don't expect that. They completely ignore most people and don't really care because they are not public. They are a state-focused broadcaster, which nowadays has become like the old Soviet Pravda, pushing out propaganda and promoting these type of journalists which engage in this type of manipulation and don't care about the people, don't care about the subversion they're taking place, because as far as they're concerned, they have the authority, they don't care. So once again, I invite anybody who shares these kind of concerns, if you have a different experience, if you feel that the debates have been great, fantastic, your candidates, all the candidates in your part of Ontario are being included, great to hear from you as well. So I invite anybody to make their comments, because this is the experience of Ottawa-Centre. I know there's some writings out there who have experienced this. I invite anybody to participate in our discussion about because if we get enough comments, then we'll know, how things are going and what people's experiences are. So once again, this is Raymond Samuels, Ontario People's Front, and I'll be releasing a series of videos on our policies as well, because we can't depend on these all candidates debates, obviously, to get our message out. We can't depend on the media, which is taking the cue from these all candidates debate in a pattern of exclusion. So we're going to be getting our message as much as we can directly to the voters of Ontario, and then particularly Ottawa-Centre. And we invite anybody who wants to participate and engage us and to contact us directly if you're interested in learning more about the Ontario People's Front, or just wanting to share your experience of what you think is going on. Do you think there's manipulation taking place with your ability to hear from all the candidates? Do you think that the quality of the debates has gone down because of this sort of a narrative, which is that candidates are being basically repeating over and over like a bunch of robots with some script they're reading in front of them? What's your view on that? So thank you very much again, Raymond Samuels, Ontario People's Front, and you can look out for our other videos shortly as we seek to engage the voters directly. Thank you.